Who's the biggest pain in the butt in your organisation? Is it you? Well, if you're a specialist, chances are that it is you. And if you're a manager of specialists, you've got an absolute nightmare on your hands. How do you manage specialist talent? And if you are specialist talent within an organisation, how do you ensure that you get noticed so that you've got a career path? And it's an important question. Heather Watson is a professional associate at GIBS. Define the specialist, if you would.
Well, the specialist is generally the person who has that expert knowledge and skill within the organisation. They provide advice to the organisation that really allows the organisation to get results, to remain profitable, and to have strategies in place that allow them to do business.
They're consultants.
They can be consultants. They fix things, they make things, they come up with ideas, and they have a huge role to play within organisations.
But organisations tend to compartmentalise specialists, don't they? I mean, that's my experience anyway.
Unfortunately, that is the trend. So they're hugely kind of overlooked, especially when it comes to training and development and career progression in organisations. And yes, they're kind of put into their little boxes and left to their own devices. Sometimes
they're like that. They don't mind because actually they like being in the basement, fiddling with the mechanics of the next astrophysics project. But actually they may be quite special individuals. Why are they overlooked?
I think the tradition of organisations is that if you want to get ahead and you want to move to the top of the organisation and make a real difference in value add, you need to go into general management. Specialist organisations don't know what to do with them. They have no idea how to manage them, how to reward them, how to help them with their training and development. And, you know, quite frankly, the specialist has got a role to play.
I was going to say, whose fault is it? Because if you are the specialist who's happily in your cocoon, why should you be noticed? Surely you've got to bloom and blossom out of that cocoon to be noticed.
Well, I think it's a dual responsibility, both the individual specialist as well as the organisation. You know, the people that I interviewed during my research all want to get ahead. They all want to be successful in their careers. They just don't know how to do it. They feel marginalised, they feel overlooked, and they do have a responsibility to play here.
What is the impact on an organisation when you've got a group of specialists in an organisation that are feeling unloved?
Well, you have issues with retention. So a lot of them, organisations only realise what they would be missing once the person leaves. So you have issues around retention, around engagement, around really making a contribution and a difference. So, you know, the specialist does need to take responsibility, but organisations as well need to learn to start treating specialists as special people.
No, but isn't that a problem within organisations? The 21st century is we're getting rid of hierarchies. We don't have special people. There's a more egalitarian workplace. That makes it complicated because the moment you start differentiating within an organisation, you start treating specialists as special, then you have the other problem developing, and that's ego issues.
Correct. I have a problem with egalitarianism. I think that we should be treating people differently because they are different. I don't know about top down, but we should be treating everybody different.
How then do you treat a specialist differently to somebody who is on a traditional general management path?
Well, firstly, you've got to understand the specialist. What are their needs? What are their interests? What turns them on? And what turns them on is the opportunity to be connected, to have access, to do research, to have toys. They want toys. They want to play with things and make things. And for the organisations, they really should be firstly understanding specialists and then providing the right environment in terms of reward, recognition. You know, the specialist isn't turned on by more shares. They're turned on by being sent on conferences, getting funding for research, being treated as somebody who has a real contribution to make in the organisation.
I may be misinterpreting deliberately here, but should we not let specialists be specialists and be allowed to be specialists and give them lots of love and being special and ignore them on the career path? Let them be the best specialist that they can be. Don't distract them from what they're good at by putting them on the career path. Surely that is destructive to their basic instinct.
You see, specialists are also different. You have different types of specialists. And one of the things is that specialists have this marginal idea of what the options are, that they only have the option of going into management or being a specialist. And that's not entirely true. So in my research, I found that there's actually 4 options for specialists. You can remain the deep specialist, the master of that skill. Stay in your box, do research, get recognised that way. You can become an integrator. And an integrator is a specialist who actually does have people skills. Somebody who's able to go across the organisation and come up with business solutions that show their skill and their talent. You've got people who actually go into management and make very good managers. And then, of course, you've got somebody who can open their own business, sell their specialist skills. And that's the thing. There are options for specialists.
Now, generally, one would regard the management path. If you go off to university and you become a chartered accountant,
Yes.
they tend to rise to the top of corporations because they understand the numbers. There are very few, if you look at the top 40 on the JSE, for example,
Yes.
fewer than half of those chief executives are people who specialised in that particular field, because most of them happen to be chartered accountants or engineers or something along those lines.
Yes, but they're good at general management. And that may be a speciality all on its own, if we really have to look at the nuts and bolts of it. Specialists don't necessarily want that power. They have a need for achievement and recognition. They don't have a need for power. So for them, becoming the next chief executive is not that important. For them, they want recognition, they want to enjoy their work, they want to make a contribution and add value to the organisation.
And organisations run the risk of messing that up by not understanding the specialists properly.
And recognising them.
There we go. Heather Watson is a professional associate at GIBS. She is a talent management specialist, somebody who helps the specialists become more special.